ahead and go back into open session at this point. If I could have everyone please stand for the invocation pledge. I'm sorry, I apologize. I need a motion to leave closed session and return to open session.
Make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. I move to certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements and only public business matters as were identified in the motion to enter into closed session were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed session.
Okay, right now we have two motions on the floor. Mr. Marshall, can I get you to remove your motion?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion. Can we get a second for that motion?
Second.
Second over here. Any discussion? If not, Mr. Marshall?
I so certify.
Okay, Mr. Kendrick?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Overby?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. We're now back in open session. Once again, if you could please stand for the invocation, pledge of allegiance, a moment of silence.
Would you pray with me? This week is Easter week, and this coming Sunday, and I challenge each of us to find a church to spend some time in worship. Would you join me as we pray? Gracious God, we come before you tonight to discuss important matters and to ask for, and so we ask for your guidance and wisdom. You're the source of all knowledge and understanding. Therefore, we seek your direction in our decision-making processes. Help us to listen to one another with open hearts and open minds. And we pray that you will give all of us that are participants and the board members, help us to be concerned about listening to each other. And we pray, Father, that you'll give us the discernment to make the best decisions for all concerned. We trust that you will guide us in the right path for the greater good of our community and our county. May our words and our actions be guided by your love and grace. For it's in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now a moment of silence in recognition of U.S. military serving here and abroad in all public safety. You may be seated. Welcome to the Patrick County Board of Supervisors meeting, where our local governing body convenes monthly or bi-monthly to address community matters that are under the purview of the board. We uphold civility as a cornerstone of our proceedings and expect all attendees to conduct themselves accordingly. There is always opportunity for public engagement, including scheduled public comment and additional public hearings on specific agenda items. We encourage active participation from our residents. In addition to these meetings, your Board of Supervisors representative is readily available for communication by email and or phone outside of the formal session. Please be advised that outbursts or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. We aim to maintain a respectful and productive environment for all attendees. Thank you for your cooperation and involvement in the shaping the future of our community. First thing on the agenda we have is the approval of the meeting agenda.
I move that we approve the meeting agenda.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? If not, Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. Kendrick.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Overby.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The next thing we have are the approval of the meeting minutes from March 2nd, 2025 and March 24th, 2025. If you all are happy with those minutes, I'll take a motion to approve those.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. Kendrick.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Overby.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you all. Approval of the bills, claims, and appropriations. Any discussion on that?
I've got a question on the unpaid bills report.
Okay.
For the Brightly software, is that an annual renewal or is that initial purchase?
That was the initial purchase.
Okay. Didn't we purchase this like last year?
It was approved in the budget last year.
So we just now bought it?
We've been implementing it, so they just charged us as we've been implementing it.
Okay.
But Mr. McGinnis has been working on it for a while, yeah. They just charged us for it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions about the bills, claims, and appropriations? If not, I'll ask for a motion to accept those.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
No, second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. Kendrick.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Overby.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Next thing we have on the agenda is the public hearing. I'll read the public hearing information. Public comment offers citizens the opportunity to address the board either in person or in writing on matters relevant to the responsibilities of the board to maintain a respectful and constructive environment. Please adhere to the following guidelines. Addressing the board. Please direct all comments to the board as a whole, refraining from addressing individual board members or employees of the board or county. Respectful conduct. Personal attacks as well as the use of insulting, profane, or vulgar language will not be tolerated. Scope of topics. Comments should pertain to the issues within the purview of the board and local government. Topics beyond the board's control or unrelated to local governance are not appropriate for public comment. Question and answer. Public comment is not a question and answer session. Board members will not respond to questions during public comment without permission from the chair. Enforcement. The chair may rule a speaker out of order for violating these rules. Upon a second violation, the speaker may be removed from the podium. Eligibility. Only residents of Patrick County or property owners in Patrick County are eligible to address the board during the public comment period. Time limit. Each speaker will be allowed 6 minutes for their comments. However, if multiple citizens wish to address the board on the same issue, they may appoint a spokesperson to speak for up to 10 minutes, provided they forfeit their individual speaking slots. Chair's authority. The chair has the authority to manage the time allocated for public comment, including limiting the number of speakers, shortening speaker time, or waiving any public comment provisions as deemed necessary. Sign-up procedure. A sign-up sheet will be available on the podium for citizens to register to speak. Speakers will be called on the order of sign-up, and additional speakers may be accommodated if time permits. Submission of comments. Speakers may provide copies of their comments to the clerk for inclusion in the meeting minutes. Thank you for your cooperation in maintaining a respectful and productive public comment period. Up front, there are 2 sign-up sheets, one for general public comment, one for the electoral board for Russell Creek voting precinct. If anybody wanted to sign up and they didn't get a chance, if you want to do that quickly. I know we had a little bit of turnover with people going in and out when we went into closed session. The first public hearing, the only public hearing, is the electoral board for Russell Creek voting precinct. Patrick County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing Monday, April 14th, 2025 on the proposed relocation of the Russell Creek voting precinct currently located at 1808 Ayers Orchard Road to the New Hope Community Church at 1863 Clark House Farm Road. The hearing will be held on the 3rd floor of the courtroom on the Patrick County Veterans Memorial Building, 106 Rucker Street, Stuart, Virginia. Anyone wishing to view the proposed revisions to the current voting precinct location may do so at the County Administration Office, Suite 218, located in the Patrick County Veterans Memorial Building. We had no one sign up for the public input. So I will still take a motion to open the public hearing, and then we'll close that if no one wishes to speak. Can I have a motion to open public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've looked at the building and absolutely it needs to move 100% for it. Has there been some kind of memorandum of understanding or some kind of with the church? So if it gets in the way of the church or just something that the church can say, hey, this isn't working out for us, or just something to protect the church, as Mr. Roach, has anything like that been?
Sure, I can answer that. Yeah, I actually met with the entire congregation, and we went over all that. So we agreed that if it doesn't work, we can part as friends, no anger, no troubles, and they will give us the proper time to find another location.
Okay, so just that has been working.
But they're very happy. They're
Great.
They're pleased.
My biggest concern is I know during election time people put all those signs all over the place, and that would be awful to ride by a church and see all those signs packed up. But as long as things are worked out with the church, that's all I'm looking for. Thank you.
Okay. So I apologize, I didn't need to open our public hearing with a motion. So I officially open the public hearing. We've heard. We'll close the public hearing at this point. I now need a motion to move the voting precinct from where it's currently located to the New Hope Community Church.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. Kendrick.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Overby.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. We're now on to the general public comment period. The first person we have is David Kuzner?
Cruiser, yes.
Kuzer from Mayo District. Do you want to go ahead and come up here? And
Well, I'm giving my minutes to Ms. Brenda.
okay.
I wrote it in there later and,
Oh, okay. Brenda Payne, Patrick Springs.
Come up there.
Yeah, if you will.
I'm new, I just got here.
Either to the podium or to the chair, your choice.
Well, I'll just stand here. I'm here for the dog situation. I live in the Clark House Farm Road area, and not only the leash law, I would like to suggest they have a irritation law or whatever they got, something like a law out for horses and all that stuff. I think the dogs need to be added on because I have two very violent dogs that live beside me. They've attacked my dogs 5 times. They attacked the lady's dog across the street and ripped her dog apart. Luckily it lived. And they're just everywhere all over the time. I mean, and I've talked to these people 5 times, and she told me when you got dogs, happens. So, with that being said, I would like the nuisance law is the one I'm speaking of. That's for horses, animals, anything that comes on your property that irritates you, whether it's their bathroom manners or whatever. I think people that lives on larger areas of land should have that law with them too, with the dogs, plus the leash law.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have Kurt Bosemeyer from Smith River about financial policy.
Good evening. My name is Kurt Bosenmeyer. I'm from the Smith River District, and I would like to address the board regarding proposals for an updated financial policy for the county budget. In the past few months, we have heard a number of calls for the county to prepare a comprehensive financial policy to replace the hit or miss budget process that we have experienced for the past few decades. While there are a number of areas where such a policy can benefit the county and its citizens, I would like to address just one issue that has been raised several times in the past few months. Specifically, the budget proposals for, quote, capital improvements, unquote, recently included a line item for $400,000 for a new ambulance. I see that tonight's meeting now includes another, quote, capital improvement, unquote, request for a fire truck for $154,000. The budget process needs to face some reality. With 8 rescue squads in the county and a like number of fire companies, it is only reasonable to expect that the county will need to replace at least 1 ambulance and 1 fire truck per year. Assuming that each rescue squad has at least 2 ambulances, this simplification suggests that the oldest ambulance in the county will be 16 years old. A similar argument may be advanced for fire companies, although the numbers may need to be adjusted to suit the actual fleet numbers. Given this annual replacement need, I maintain that ambulance and fire truck purchases should not be capital improvement issues, but rather annual maintenance costs well planned in each budget cycle. Prior to buying our home in Patrick County over 22 decades ago, I served 20 years as a volunteer firefighter and line officer in our town in New Jersey. This experience highlights the perils of poorly planned financial policy. Our town realized that they needed to buy a new fire truck each year on a rotational basis for the 6 companies. This started out at around $85,000 40 years ago, and it had reached $875,000 for a ladder truck at last report. The insurance underwriters declared that once a fire truck reached 7 years old, it was no longer considered adequate for service. But the town government, in its infinite wisdom, chose to finance those purchases by issuing 25-year bonds, which meant that they were still paying for trucks 17 years after they had been taken out of service, paying, including interest, with tax dollars. I hope that Patrick County adopts a better financial plan than that. Our volunteers need adequate equipment. Let's develop a practical means of providing it without straining the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Crystal Harris from Smith River District.
Good evening. Thank y'all for allowing me to speak tonight. On behalf of the Patrick County Fire and Rescue, each of you have received an invitation. Scotty told you last month, but we prepared you an invitation which for you and +1 to come. We have guest speakers coming. We have awards. We would appreciate if you would come for our annual banquet. You will be served a delicious meal. And you're free to donate a prize, as one of your supervisors has already done for a door prize. My second issue is Brightspeed. And I'd like to take an opportunity to thank Amy Walker for helping me get our phone back. My phone had been out since sometime the end of February. Got it back Friday. And my husband got mad and he told me I could handle it, but they wouldn't allow me to handle it because my name wasn't on the bill. But we did get a very nice letter, and it will tell you, the gentleman here indicated it wasn't a problem. It is a problem. They told me that we had copper wiring, so we couldn't get our phone fixed. Because of that, we would have to switch over. But to another person. And they said we'd do a 3-way call. She expected me to do it. She expected the wrong person to do it. So I called Amy. Amy typed it in while I was talking about the copper wiring. And let me see what he said. There was a line from my mailbox down to the neighbor's land on top of the road, in the woods. But this guy that wrote it let us know, and he was very nice in his correspondence, let us know that copper wiring was still working and that was not correct, and that he would turn it over to the complaint cook. And where it said we were advised that no copper wire line was in, and he said that's not the case. And he was going to forward that information on to but I do want to thank Amy again for getting our telephone back. It was a quiet month on telemarketers. But thank you, and hope to see y'all at the fire and rescue.
Thank you. Up next, we have Brett Booth, who is speaking on behalf of 4 other individuals. So that means you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Brett Booth, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about an important issue. I am here today to respectfully advocate for the adoption of local ordinance in Patrick County. This ordinance would require all dogs to have proper identification, such as a collar with a tag and/or a microchip. It would also mandate that dogs remain on their owner's property unless supervised and be leashed whenever off the premises. Additionally, the ordinance would establish a clear legal position on what constitutes animal neglect, endangerment, and abandonment, while including provisions to protect Good Samaritans who assist loose animals. These measures are essential to ensuring the safety of both residents and their pets, while also fostering accountability within our community. Given that this issue was already scheduled for discussion today, it's evident that I am not alone in experiencing challenges related to stray dogs and cats. In the past, my family has had incidents involving other dogs that resulted in property damage. However, due to their lack of identification and the inability to safely contain them, there was no way to hold their owners accountable for the damages caused by their animals. This underscores the importance of documenting animals at large, a point at which I will address further later on. As a veterinary technician and someone who has personally experienced the consequences of loose animals, including being attacked in a public place, resulting in injuries that required multiple surgeries, I am deeply aware of the urgent need for stronger regulations to protect both the community and its animals. Those who oppose my position likely have not encountered an unfortunate situation of this nature before. If they had, I believe they would recognize the merit of my stance. To provide greater clarity on the motivation behind my advocacy and the necessity of these changes, I would like to share a recent personal experience that shaped my perspective and demonstrates the urgency of this matter. Over the past few weeks, we've observed a young puppy roaming near our home, often seen on the street directly outside of our property, as well as within our horse pastures. One particular day, she wandered onto our property and into our horse barn. Frightened away by our horses, she ended up frozen in fear in the middle of the road, narrowly avoiding multiple cars. The puppy was clearly hungry, thirsty, and neglected, with overgrown nails, no identification, and showing signs of distress. Most heartbreakingly, she exhibited severe fear, cowering with her tail between her legs, a behavior uncharacteristic of a puppy who should be playful and trusting. From an ethical standpoint, I felt compelled to take action to ensure her immediate needs were met and to remove her from the hazardous and vulnerable situation of being in the middle of the road. After providing her with food, water, and shelter, I contacted animal control, but they failed to respond until the following day, despite multiple follow-up calls. Over 5 hours after the puppy's arrival, individuals arrived claiming to be the owners of the dog in question. I informed them that animal control had been contacted and advised that they should wait its response and coordinate directly with them to facilitate the return of the dog. Upon mentioning animal control, their response was immediately hostile, involving yelling, profanity, and threats, which made it difficult for me to complete my explanation. Their behavior appeared to be erratic and potentially influenced by an unknown substance, such as drugs or alcohol. Given the absence of identification on the puppy, my uncertainty regarding their ownership, my concerns about the puppy's safety and their care, and my discomfort and feelings of insecurity during the interaction, I felt it was both reasonable and necessary to defer the matter to animal control for proper handling. However, concerned for my safety and the well-being of my family due to their escalating aggressive behavior and threats, the puppy was ultimately returned to them before animal control arrived. This experience underscores the need for regulations that require identification, supervision, and leashing of dogs to ensure their safety, promote responsible ownership, and protect those who step in to help. Allowing a dog to roam freely without supervision poses significant risks to its health and well-being, making it a form of neglect, abandonment, and endangerment. Intentionally letting your dog roam freely off your property demonstrates a clear lack of care and supervision. If the dog is on someone else's property or wandering on a public road, you are not providing the essential aspects of responsible pet ownership, such as adequate food, water, shelter, or safety. By intentionally letting your dog roam unsupervised, you expose them to various risks and fail to fulfill your duty of care. This behavior falls under the definition of neglect, as an animal's well-being is compromised when these fundamental needs are not being met. While the idea of letting a dog roam freely might seem like giving them more freedom, it actually exposes them to significant dangers and deprives them of the care they need to stay safe and healthy. Dogs are reliant on humans for safety, food, water, shelter, and companionship. When left to roam, they face numerous dangers such as traffic accidents, which can lead to severe injuries or death, and encounters with aggressive wildlife or other dogs, which may result in fights or harm. Roaming also increases their exposure to diseases like rabies or parvovirus, and leaves them vulnerable to harsh weather conditions, causing heat stroke, hypothermia, or other health issues. Once again, this lack of protection and care can lead to physical harm, psychological stress, and even life-threatening situations. The psychological toll of being left unsupervised can cause stress, anxiety, and behavioral issues, as dogs are social animals that thrive on security and interaction. Furthermore, their presence in public spaces can endanger others by causing traffic disruptions, property damage, or even fear and injury to people or other pets. Responsible pet ownership means ensuring a dog's safety and well-being while also respecting the safety of others. As such actions demonstrate a lack of responsibility and concern for the dog's well-being, placing the animal in harm's way, and neglecting its fundamental needs. Animal welfare laws exist to prevent neglect and endangerment, which includes actions like letting dogs roam unsupervised. While the intention might not be malicious, the consequences of unsupervised roaming can be harmful to both the animal and those around them. Allowing this behavior undermines the trust and bond between owners and their pets, emphasizing the importance of responsible pet ownership for the safety of both animals and the community. It's imperative for this board to establish a clear and definitive legal position on this matter to ensure that residents understand such actions are neither lawful, moral, or ethical. By taking a strong stance, the board can communicate that this behavior will no longer be tolerated in our county, emphasizing the importance of responsible pet ownership and safeguarding both the welfare of animals and the community at large. The owner's conduct in this situation was both highly inappropriate and profoundly ungrateful and disrespectful, especially given my efforts to care for their dog. I provided her with food and water, ensured she was safe from traffic, and allowed her to remain on my property among my own family and animals, actions I was not obligated to take, but chose to do so out of compassion and a desire to prevent harm to an innocent animal. It is unacceptable that legally there seems to be no recourse to address such conduct, particularly when threats and intimidation are involved. Incidents like this emphasize the need for clear regulations and protections for individuals who assist animals in distress and find themselves in confrontational or unsafe situations. Good Samaritan laws uphold the ethical and moral principle of fostering compassion and mutual support within society. They enable individuals to act in good faith to assist others, whether humans or animal, without the fear of facing legal repercussions. Without such protections, Good Samaritans risk legal liability or confrontational situations when attempting to help. For example, rescuing a stray dog from harm may inadvertently lead to disputes with the owner or accusations of trespassing or theft. It is vital that we safeguard the spirit of humanity by ensuring that acts of kindness are encouraged, not stifled by fear of liability. Without such protection, society risks prioritizing self-preservation over the collective good, allowing fear to replace the very humanity that binds us together. By implementing these laws, we affirm our shared responsibility to care for one another and preserve a community founded on empathy and trust. As I mentioned previously, as a veterinary technician with nearly 10 years of experience, I bring a professional perspective to this issue. The lack of knowledge regarding the vaccination history of a stray or unidentified animal is highly concerning, posing significant risks to public health and animal health. This uncertainty increases the likelihood that the animal could be a carrier of serious diseases, including rabies, leptospirosis, intestinal parasites, canine distemper, canine parvovirus, and other transmissible illnesses, some of which pose risks to human health. Such risks underscore the importance of a proactive control, accountability, and ethical handling of animals to safeguard the well-being of the community. I feel that any loose animal must be documented and, if possible to do so, detained until an animal control officer can take custody of the said animal to ensure there is official record that the animal was at large. This documentation is crucial in identifying the responsible party if an animal causes harm to a person, damages property, or spreads disease. Without contacting animal control and following proper protocols, it becomes difficult to determine ownership and accountability in such situations. Furthermore, there must be consequences for owners who habitually or repeatedly neglect their responsibilities. Measures such as fines can serve as a deterrent and reinforce the importance of responsible pet ownership. Ensuring safety is a collective priority, and it must be treated with the seriousness it deserves by the community and authorities. Ethical and responsible treatment of animals should be inherent to good pet ownership and basic human decency. It should not require legislations to compel people to act responsibly. However, the unfortunate reality is that laws are sometimes necessary to ensure accountability and protect the welfare of animals, as well as the safety of others in the community. I respectfully urge you to formalize these responsibilities through clear legal provisions. This would establish accountability for pet owners and provide a framework to prevent situations where animals are placed in harm's way due to neglect. Pet ownership is undoubtedly rewarding, but it is also a privilege and a commitment that comes with significant responsibilities. It's imperative that these responsibilities are taken seriously to safeguard both the animals and the community as a whole. It is imperative to emphasize that neglecting proper care for a dog does not justify allowing it to roam freely. Such behavior compromises the safety of the animal itself, as well as the safety of other people, animals, and property it may encounter. The convenience of individuals who disregard their responsibilities as pet owners must never take precedence over public safety and animal welfare. Responsible pet ownership is a reflection of kindness and stewardship as emphasized in the Bible. Proverbs 12:10 reminds us that the righteous care for the needs of their animals, urging us to treat our pets with compassion, just as Genesis 1:26 calls for us to care for all creatures entrusted to us. We are reminded that dogs, as loyal companions, deserve our love, respect, and attentive care. Whether it's ensuring their physical well-being, providing a safe environment, or nurturing their emotional needs, every act of care reflects our role as stewards of God's creation. Let us honor this responsibility and show the same faithful love to our pets as they show to us. Firstly, proper identification such as collars, tags, and microchips are essential for reuniting lost dogs with their owners quickly and efficiently. In emergency or situations where the dogs are found wandering, identification can save valuable time and resources for animal control officers and shelters. Microchips serve as a permanent form of identification that cannot be lost or removed, providing further assurance in case a collar or tag is lost. It also alleviates stress on pet owners and prevents avoidable suffering for lost animals. Secondly, requiring dogs to remain on their owner's property unless supervised helps to prevent accidents and conflicts. Dogs wandering freely can pose safety risks not only to themselves, such as getting hit by vehicles or encountering aggressive wildlife, but also to other residents. Unsupervised animals may inadvertently cause harm, damage property, transmit communicable diseases, or engage in territorial disputes with other pets. This ordinance will promote a harmonious community environment while protecting our furry friends. Lastly, enforcing leash laws for dogs when off their owner's property is vital for public safety. A dog on a leash is under its owner's control and cannot unexpectedly run into dangerous situations or disturb others. Leash laws help reduce incidents of dog attacks, ensure responsible pet ownership, and foster respect among neighbors. As our community grows, it is imperative that we adopt measures to prioritize safety and accountability. In today's world, where technology has made microchipping accessible and affordable, and where busy roads and crowded neighborhoods are increasingly common, these measures are both practical and necessary. They align with the modern standards of pet care and community safety observed in counties across the country. Having lived in areas where leash laws and identification logs for dogs are enforced, I find it unacceptable and dangerous that such laws are not yet in place in this county. Without these measures, the risks extend beyond individual animals, posing threats to public safety and increasing strain on local resources. This case exemplifies the broader consequences. If not properly trained and provided with medical care, this particular puppy could grow into a fear-aggressive adult dog, potentially dangerous to the community. Moreover, her ability to reproduce unchecked would exacerbate issues of overpopulation in stray animals. The lengthy response time from animal control further highlights systemic issues. Given the delay in their response, it is clear that the number of officers available is insufficient to manage the volume of calls concerning animals at large. Furthermore, the allocation of dedicated animal control officers exists on paper. However, this does not effectively translate into practice. It is crucial to have officers who are specifically dedicated to animal welfare and the enforcement of ordinances. Ensuring this dedication of both policy and implementation is essential for addressing community concerns and upholding the standards of responsible care and public safety. Leash laws and dog ordinances are crucial for public safety.
You can wrap it up in the next few seconds.
Yes. I have just a couple paragraphs left, if you don't mind. Leash laws and dogs ordinance are crucial for public safety, wildlife protection, and community harmony. I believe this is a matter of civic responsibility to bring this issue to your attention. The longstanding mindset reportedly favored by this board is no longer adequate to meet the growing needs of our community. As the county board, you have an obligation and a duty to protect the citizens, animals, and broader community. Your role as part of the government carries the responsibility to enact meaningful changes, not to shy away from governance and regulation. It is essential to take action and address the gaps in outdated ordinances or the absence of clear standards, rather than perpetuate the notion that maintaining the status quo is acceptable simply because it has always been that way. Leadership requires standing for progress and accountability. Without that, the community risks stagnation and unnecessary harm. I would prefer to work collaboratively with this board to ensure the successful implementation of new regulations. If improved, taking proactive steps to inform pet owners through partnerships with local animal organizations, social media outreach, direct mail, public announcements, and educational events to ensure widespread awareness. Additionally, I recommend increasing dedicated animal officers, staffing to meet rising demands, improve response time, enhance public safety, and support compliance with the law. These measures will ensure the law is effectively...
We're going to have to cut you off there.
Okay, you're good. Thank you.
Want to give a copy of that too? That'll make sure it makes it in the minutes, and we'll also have it to look over as well. Thank you, though. Thank you very much. Up next, we have Trina Anderson from Peters Creek District.
Good evening. Chairman Wood, I'd like your permission to speak directly to you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. For 15 months, Patrick County citizens have been trying to get this board to listen to us and to work for our benefit. Taxpayers desire and expect a return on our forced investment of our tax money. We're forced by law to fund the needs of Patrick County. We will not be silenced and ignored while our money is spent or wasted on the desires of a few. Citizens and taxpayers have an absolute constitutional right to speak our minds, even if members of the board or county employees find our speech offensive. Many citizens in this room have literally placed their very lives on the line to defend that right. This board cannot censor the content of speech of any citizen who comes forward to speak. Mr. Chairman, you can ask that people speak civilly, but you can't require that they do so with a set of rules written by the county administrator. I'm well aware that I caused those rules to be written because I exposed available public information about a particular supervisor. 15 months later, I'd do it again, and I may do so in the very near future. This board insists on civility from citizens, but not from individual supervisors themselves. A supervisor on this board has subjected the citizens who pay him to constant verbal abuse. He's called private citizens liars and worse. He's disparaged the media, whose job it is to hold this board and its members accountable. Members of this board and county employees have retaliated against people who have spoken out. FOIA requests have been denied for inappropriate cause or charged money for work product that was unnecessary or wasn't done. Such retaliation is improper, unprofessional, and in some cases illegal. These employees should be thoroughly investigated by this board and held accountable. And yes, a board of supervisors has the legal ability and authority to investigate improper actions. Months ago, I asked this board to censure the Blue Ridge supervisor. The board sat on its hands and has allowed the creation of a monstrous clown who constantly disparages other supervisors, taxpayers, the legitimate process and progress of this board and county government, while at the same time censoring the content of our speech. Chairman Wood, Patrick County deserves better. We deserve respect. We deserve accountability, efficiency, openness, transparency at all levels of interaction with this board, county government, and employees. The Board of Supervisors cannot properly and efficiently function under the circumstances we've all endured for the past 15 months. Progress has been limited and impaired at every juncture by this obstructionist. This must cease immediately. The obstructionist must be dealt with and must be held accountable for his behavior. Some supervisors choose to use social media to communicate. Social media can be a useful tool, or as one particular supervisor uses it, as a weapon. At least 3 supervisors on this board have been individually victimized by that supervisor. The supervisor disparages other supervisors, volunteer-appointed board members, taxpayers, and the citizens of this county. He threatens bogus legal action against the same. Enclosed in the packets I have provided are many examples providing proof of the supervisor's actions. This is just a sampling of some of the posts, emails, publications, and articles that he has chose to publicly distribute in his attempts to slander, defame, embarrass, intimidate, threaten, and harass other supervisors, taxpayers, citizens, the media, and anyone who may disagree with him. The supervisor has a long habit of denying citizen comment on his official postings. He habitually deletes any comment he disagrees with. He blocks individuals who confront his behaviors. I ask that the documents I handed to the board clerk please be entered into the public record. These actions and behaviors are unprofessional, unethical, unconstitutional, and in some cases quite possibly criminal. He's chosen to open this board and this county government to civil liabilities, lawsuits due to his chosen actions and behavior. It's
The next few seconds.
It's unfathomable that this has been allowed to continue for 15 months. I request that this board immediately censure the supervisor who represents the Blue Ridge District.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Galen Gilbert from Peters Creek.
Good afternoon. Of course, my name's Galen Gilbert. I'm from the Peters Creek District. I have a sort of a list of things I need to cover, starting with the intersection at Patrick Springs again. I know they've done a study saying that a stoplight is not feasible. They've also done a study down there that said that the intersection needs to be daylit with lights. The curbs need to be fixed. And this was done many years ago and has not taken place yet. So I would like to see y'all sort of put some pressure on them to follow that study of at least daylighting that intersection, because we have had another wreck down there. And I don't know when it's going to stop, until another person is killed or what. I don't know. But something has to be done, and the study they did was to daylight that intersection and fix the curbing around there, and it probably wouldn't hurt to thin out a few of the turning spots that are down through there, since there's so many of them. That's on the Patrick Springs item. I noticed out here today when I come in, I do not believe, now I might be wrong, but I didn't see no spot. They have the handicap parking over in the main parking, but there is nowhere on that edge where the concrete has been cut that you can walk up without having to step up. And sometimes with the older generation, the step up could make them fall, and there you are, broken hip. So if that is that way, that needs to be fixed, because after a certain time, you can't come in at the bottom where they do have the cuts in the sidewalks to come up, because they lock at 5 o'clock. Another thing was that I noticed that Jonathan brought up several months back that the PSA should have the same rules of y'all about public speaking. Well, that has not taken place yet. I just read it in the paper again. You got to submit your stuff to the county administration 5 days before, and they might bring it up and they might not. I think this needs to be settled ASAP, because that is ridiculous. I don't know if y'all have been forwarded on the next subject of the fire and rescue report. I don't know if y'all have got copies of that yet. If you haven't, you should have been given that, because they come out on around the 24th or 25th of last month. There's a lot of interest in reading in that, and after reading some of it, it's a lot of money involved, and I know that we are strapped, so that will be something that really needs to be taken care of. But in that report, it is not a requirement that we follow it. It is just a guideline to go by. So I don't know if y'all have got that, if y'all have received that report yet. Okay. It's some very interesting reading. People in the county ought to go to the Virginia Fire Programs, and they can look at this study and read it, because there's a lot of interesting things in it. And I know after reading it, all I seen was a lot of dollar signs, and I know we don't have it. Fire trucks running north of $700,000 now. An ambulance anywhere from $300,000 to $600,000, and not even being stocked, either one of these. So you got to put all this equipment on there, and you're looking probably another $75,000 of equipment. So read that report. It's very interesting, and I hope y'all can put some weight on the VDOT to at least daylight that intersection at Pack Springs, because I don't know when the accidents are going to stop, but it don't seem like it's no time soon. But I do appreciate y'all's time, and y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. Up next, we have Steve Faring from Dan River District about the budget.
My name is Steve Faring from Dan River District. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it. This appears to be the first year in many that you as a body have had the county prepare a more comprehensive budget for your approval. It is your job to question all the expense figures that the various department managers provide. We would like to assume that no favoritism is given during this budgeting process. That, however, has not been a valid assumption in the past. There are questions outstanding regarding some of the budget numbers put forth by the Sheriff's Department that need to be justified before you pass the current proposed budget. E911 expenses for communications seem extensive, and no mention is made of applying for the state grant program to modernize all 911 operations in the state. This is a grant up to $150,000 we should qualify for, and has been available since 2023. Why haven't we applied? It's a good question to ask. We spend our funds to maintain the current radio system rather than use state funds to migrate to a digital system that's much cheaper to operate, has better coverage, and is easier and less costly to maintain. Another item. Feeding the inmates at the jail is still out of proportion as compared to other jails in Virginia. They can feed their inmates for between $3 and $6 per person per day. We spend much more than $6 per day per person. The contract for food has not been rebid in years. Why not? The current budget is $235,000. If we allow $5 per inmate per day, the amount of the budget should be $146,000, which is an $89,000 savings. The jail, the county, the school, all purchase janitorial products. I would suggest that these purchases be combined to take advantage of bulk discounts. The same logic applies to our paper and stationery requirements. Whatever you decide to do as far as centralizing the purchasing, at least have the county administrator rebid the larger expenditures as a verification of the amounts required. That's pretty basic. If the county were to implement a fleet management program that served the county, the school system, and the sheriff's department, we would save money on insurance, fuel, and maintenance. Each vehicle would be slated for replacement as required and can therefore be budgeted. You in the past have objected to the county employees having bottled water, but have not been willing to query the second largest budget the county supports. Why not? It's a question, good question to ask. Is the Board of Supervisors not up to the task? Not capable? Biased? The actions we're asking you to take in no way defund our police. They only make the department fiscally and managerial more effective. They're using your money properly. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment period. We're moving now to the new business. Would you like to do that now, or would you like to do it on your reports? Okay. Mr. Kendrick.
Crystal, in response to your comment about Brightspeed, I just happened to be up in that area today hauling some gravel. Not too far from your house on that same road, there's a cable about that big around, and it goes across the road. It's in a curve. It's over next to the Methodist Bethel campground. And it looks like it had got broke or pulled down. That little cable they coiled around it for strength was all spiraled out. Well, the way they fixed it, they took a orange cable and lassoed it about the size of your finger, doubled it, pulled it back to a tree, and tied it to a little tree. Then they took part of that spiral thing that was hanging down in the road and pulled it back and tied it to a little tree. And from what I can understand, that's been done quite a while. And, you know, riding around that dump truck sitting up high, you can see all kinds of stuff that it's ridiculous. I mean, you see pedestals that look like spaghetti with wires hanging out. Some of them have a plastic garbage bag tied over them, and they stay like that for months. So you made a good comment on that.
Well, last year, year before, I can't remember, they had the wire strung up on the fence post on Jonathan's grandparents' land down there coming up to my house. So this year it was coming out from the cemetery, but the dead people, but it came out from the pedestal at the cemetery down the driveway to that farm.
Well, that was so comical this morning, the way they done that one in that curve. I took pictures of it.
That's nothing new, Mr. Kennedy.
That's all I got. Okay.
Thank you. We'll go on to the new business, like I said, the proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month. I will read the proclamation, and then we will vote on that. Proclamation of the Board of Supervisors of Patrick County, Virginia, recognizing April 2025 as National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas the well-being and safety of children are fundamental to the strength and vitality of Patrick County and the Commonwealth of Virginia, and whereas child abuse and neglect are a serious problem that affect children of all ages, races, and socioeconomic backgrounds, leaving lasting physical and emotional scars, and whereas preventing child abuse and neglect requires the collective efforts of families, communities, schools, law enforcement, and local government to create a safe and nurturing environment for all children, and whereas raising awareness about child abuse and neglect is essential to promoting prevention, encouraging reporting, and supporting victims and their families, and whereas the month of April has been designated as Child Abuse Awareness Month across the nation, providing an opportunity to highlight the importance of protecting children and strengthening families, and whereas Patrick County is committed to fostering a community where children are valued, protected, and given the opportunity to thrive in a safe and supportive environment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Patrick County Board of Supervisors, on behalf of the citizens of Patrick County, does hereby recognize April 2025 as Child Abuse Awareness Month. And in Patrick County, we urge all residents to join us in raising awareness about the prevention of child abuse and neglect, to support efforts to protect children, and to work together to build a brighter future for all children in our community. Can I have a motion for that proclamation?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
And a second, is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Kendrick?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Overby?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you all. Up next, we have Dr. Holmes, Director of DHCD, Office of Broadband. If you will, please.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you, Chair and members of the Board of Supervisors, for inviting me and County Administrator Beth Sutton to give you all an update on broadband. I know you all will hear individually from Appalachian Power, Charter, and River Street Networks on their specific project builds in your county later this evening. I guess I can click and talk at the same time. I apologize. I usually can't do two things at once, so. First of all, I do want to say my relationship with Patrick County actually goes back long before broadband was a thing in our Department of Housing and Community Development. My actual first job at the Department of Housing and Community Development, and still is my current job, is the Virginia Appalachian Regional Commission Program Manager. And so most of my interaction and understanding of Patrick County actually comes a lot from, if you all know Laura Blevins, who now works for Senator Kane, she actually worked for Congressman Boucher. And so one of the first things she said to me when I took over the ARC program and also started doing broadband was that my job was to make sure Patrick County gets broadband. She said, you all have been waiting a very long time for broadband, and I won't say what company previously provided broadband in your county, but you all know who they are. They were just talked about not too long ago. And so I wanted to give an update on kind of what's going on across the state around broadband, but specifically focusing on Patrick County this evening. And I'm going to click and talk at the same time. Which way am I clicking? Is the laptop? Is it? Which way is the laptop?
It's up here.
Oh, it's up there. Okay. Okay. Okay.
If not, I'll click.
Okay. See, I told y'all. Oh, I got it. Okay. All right, and so what I'm going to go over this evening is really just a tool in our toolbox that talks about kind of where broadband is within Virginia, then specifically talk about broadband projects in Patrick County, and then give a brief update on each one of your projects that you all have here in the county, and then give you a tool that you can use as both residents and Board of Supervisors members to get an update on how your Virginia Telecommunication Initiative projects are going within your county. And then I do want to give you something that you probably haven't really heard about, is that we've been studying cellular coverage in all counties across the state, but I want to give you all a bird's eye view into what we studied around cellular connectivity within Patrick County, because there's some funding that's forthcoming that can help address that need. I know I heard a talk earlier about the communication needs. Cellular connectivity will also help with addressing emergency communication needs as well. And so there's a forthcoming grant program that will be available to companies to come and expand cellular connectivity across the state as well through some federal funds. And so with that, I will move forward. And I swear I'm going to do a bad job at clicking this thing.
I got you.
Okay, you got me, okay.
It's on your kitty pig.
All right, I'm going to sit this down. All right. And so, not sure if everyone's a bit familiar with the Commonwealth Connection map. What you see here is just a map that we have of the state. This is honing in on your county specifically. And so it talks about the different resources within the county that have been funded through the Virginia Telecommunication Initiative, which is our last mile broadband program. This program has been around since 2017, and it started out as $1 million program and grew to $750 million in 2021. Next slide. And so just to kind of give you all an overview of all the things broadband within Patrick County in relationship to the work at the Department of Housing and Community Development. And so back in 2019, the Department of Housing and Community Development funded a broadband engineering study and design for the county. And we see this as really as a precursor to the county really getting into applying for broadband funding from the Department of Housing and Community Development. And so you all heard me talk about the BODY program, which has been around since 2017. You all were an early adopter of the grant program. So within the first 3 years, you all did apply for a grant and were awarded almost an $800,000 grant award to expand fixed wireless. Now, that grant was awarded and started in 2020, and the grant agreement was supposed to be a year. And so the project was canceled, but I'm explaining to you why the project was canceled. The project was canceled because the year in which you all were going to get started and actually having fixed wireless within the county, we got a huge plus up in funding in the program. And so along with River Street Networks, who was the wireless network partner and the county leadership at the time, it was a decision to say, okay, why would the county get wireless service, which can often be unreliable throughout the entire county? Why not look at doing wireline connection? And so at that point, it was agreed upon by the county and the county administrator at the time, as well as River Street, to look at doing a fiber build. And so that's where you all transitioned from what would have been a full county wireless project to looking at a county fiber project. And so in what you see on the slide is that in 2022, you all did receive a project along with Charter, and Charter is going to present later this evening on that project. And so you all was awarded $2.9 million, which was match and awarded funds for a Charter project. And so I'll explain a little bit how that project going is. Again, you'll hear from Charter on specific details on challenges and how that project is being built out in the county. At the same time, you also received an award. It's a $100 million regional project that includes several other counties that are neighboring to Patrick County. And so that project was awarded also with River Street. And so that project started in September 2022, getting under contract with us, and the project is slated to be done in 2026. At the same time, in 2023, because as you all heard me say, we got plussed up within 2022 and 2023, you all came in for another regional grant, really to look at universal coverage within the county. What we know about our rural communities in the Commonwealth is that there's been bad mapping data on where coverage is within communities and where coverage is not. And so 2023, that project actually allows you all to get as close as possible to universal coverage in the county. And so that grant just got underway in February of last year, and then it's slated to end around the same time as your 2022 grant. And then the last grant is the Appalachian Regional Commission grant, which is a $700,000 grant from the Appalachian Regional Commission, and it's a total grant of $1.5 million, including match. You actually are tonight having a hearing on the environmental review record, which is actually the last thing I know Christy's behind me somewhere, the last thing you all need to get under contract for that grant. And so that will bring you all an understanding of all your different awards you've received within the county for broadband. Next slide. And so give you an update on the projects, just starting in consecutive order. The Vadi 2022 project with Charter actually is going very well. They're about 98% complete based on the monthly reports we receive from the county and their partner, Charter. However, there has been some delays related to crossing the Blue Ridge Parkway. And I don't want to say it, I know it says it can take up to 2 years. This is not a unique issue to Patrick County. You all live here, you know how valuable the Blue Ridge Parkway is. It is very hard to get anything across the Blue Ridge Parkway, so much so that we already have copper. I'm not going to talk about copper. We know there's copper lines going across it, but every time you cross it, you have to get a new permit crossing from the federal government. And so, again, this is not something that's unique to Patrick County. We're seeing it in Franklin County. We're seeing it on trails in Washington County on the Mendota Trail. And so this is not something that's unique to Patrick County. I know that Senator Warner and Senator Kane are both very aware of issues with getting the permits approved by the federal government. And so I know that Charter is slowly working and hardly working with the federal government to get the last few homes connected to broadband that are on the other side of the parkway. The next project is your West Piedmont project, and so that project is the larger, when I talked about the regional projects along with Franklin, your county, and several other counties, it's a larger scale project. As you all can see, the total project between the award and the match money is about $90 million plus dollars, and there are about 10,000 homes, businesses, and anchors that are part of that project. No home has been passed to date, and part of that is that this project is part of something called a utility leverage program. If you're not familiar with the utility leverage program, that is a program where the middle mile and in this case it's Appalachian Power is the middle mile provider, where Appalachian Power is also building out fiber throughout the county for their electric needs. They have the ability to lease excess fiber to a last mile provider, and in this case it's River Street Networks, and that helps buy down the cost for building out broadband. As you all may know, building broadband is very expensive, and so Appalachian Power, along with River Street and along with the county, made the decision to partner so that it wouldn't be as expensive, and so that River Street can reach as many homes and businesses and anchors as possible. And so these projects are often known to have challenges across the state. Part of it is because the way construction works, Appalachian Power has to build out their fiber, they have to go through permitting, they have to go through VDOT right away. Behind them, River Street will come in, they too have to go through VDOT right away and permitting as well. And so we've had several utility leverage projects. Grayson County is a project that was done. River Street has typically buries their fiber in communities, but given the terrain in Patrick County, it is best to probably go overhead with aerial connectivity. And so that's kind of where the delays are on the project. Again, I do want to share that these particular challenges are not unique to just Patrick County. This is something we're seeing all over the state, whether it's Dominion Virginia Power, whether it's our electric cooperatives across the state. Next project. And so this is your most recent award. This is the continuation of what River Street and the county was awarded in 2022. I like to hearken when I talk to communities about broadband. When I was a kid in school, I really loved geography, and I really love Virginia's geography. And so the way I explain broadband projects is you're kind of coloring in the county as you go, as we identify projects to get folks access to broadband. And so what I often say, particularly when you have a county that have back-to-back projects, maybe a part of the county got access through a grant program, and then the remainder of the county is being covered by another grant. And so I would say if you take the 2022 and 2023 projects and you put them together, you see over 90% of the county getting access to fiber broadband. There's about a small percentage left, and so there's another program that is forthcoming that will see Patrick County get to almost 100% coverage. And so what you may have noticed on the slides is that the timeline for both the 2022 project and the 2023 project are overlapping. And part of it, again, as River Street builds out, they're going to make sure that everyone is connected. And so while these are two standalone projects, you want to look at them in a combined manner, because River Street's not going to build a house, skip over the house next to it because it's in the 23 project. They're going to build across the communities and in the neighborhoods that they're going to go in. And I know they're going to talk about their build schedule and their path for their fiber routes momentarily. And this is also part of the utility program as well. And then the last project I want to talk about is the ARC project. And so this project, as I said earlier, you all are going to have a conversation tonight about the ARC environmental review record. With federal funding, you are required to look at and make sure that a project is not impacting the community environmentally. We know lots of parts of Virginia historic, including parts of Patrick County, and so we want to make sure that we're not violating any federal rules around that particular funding source. And so that grant will get quickly underway as soon as we make it through the environmental review process, which you all will most likely approve tonight, and we will get that project under contract within the next few months once we get that information from the Planning District Commission. And Christy and her staff have done a wonderful job managing multiple projects with 2 providers. I will say that it has been a great partnership for the Department of Housing and Community Development to work with the PDC. Christy's new to her role. Michael Armbruster was at the PDC before Christy. And so many of the planning districts across the state are managing large scale, broadband projects. And so Christy is just one of those dynamic leader that I think is doing a great job, not only managing the project, but having to manage expectations of many Board of Supervisors. She is not managing the largest regional project. That would be Thomas Jefferson PDC, where there are 13 counties and 5 times 13 Board of Supervisors. And so I come from local government, and so it was actually really good to hear public comment. I haven't been to a local Board of Supervisors meeting where public comment happens at the beginning. And so to hear about the issues with, I won't say the name of the company, the copper provider, and to hear about the communication needs of the county from an emergency standpoint, there are resources out there for that. And so don't just look at the Department of Housing and Community Development as only giving you funding for body. Beth and I go back to her previous role in another county, and so I am very aware of the challenges in Patrick County and how DHCD and other state agencies can be a resource. And so the last 2 things I want to share are the VADI dashboard. By show of hands for the Board of Supervisors, are you all aware of this dashboard we have? Does anyone know about this? Okay, I see one person shaking their head. No, 2 people. Okay, so 2 out of the 5, almost a majority. Only kidding, it's not close. Okay, so this is a dashboard where you all can actually go. It's an entire map of the state, and it lists out every single project within the state. And so it includes your projects. And so I'm spotlighting the charter project. Why? Because it's easier. It's one project in Patrick County. Unfortunately, your other dashboard projects with River Street include Franklin and other counties. So you really can't see how the project is progressing when you have a regional project. But that does not mean you should not get an update on how your county specific build is going. And so that's why River Street is here this evening. And so I did want to share that this is a resource. You all have a copy of the slides. There's a hyperlink in the slide deck so that if you all get that on a PDF or the PowerPoint, you all can click on it, actually go to the map and see how the project is going. And so what you see here, and this is for the residents as well, you all can actually go to this dashboard. And so what you can see is the progress of how your project is being built. There's a link to the provider's website. So if you all want to click and see how Charter is managing the project, they too keep their website updated on how the project is going. And so this is really a tool. This was required by the General Assembly. With more money comes a lot of responsibility, and so the General Assembly said, well, we want to know how you're spending the money and if the money is being spent in a timely manner. And so we want to make sure the public is clearly informed about these projects. We received $750 million in fiscal year 2022 to award projects across the state, and so this dashboard includes every single project awarded since January 2021 and December 2021 as well, and all updated projects as well. And so the last thing I'll share with you all is the cellular coverage data. I don't know if you all know about, other than people driving around Patrick County and your phone calls dropping, I wanted to provide some real data. And so the office has a page on our website. And so our website is www.dhcd.virginia.gov. And so on our website, we've produced data for each county in Virginia on cellular coverage. And so what I wanted to share with you is that there are 8,000 homes and businesses within the county that either don't lack 4G coverage or have 4G coverage. Now, I don't have my phone up here, I have my tablet. When you don't have 4G coverage, this becomes a paperweight. You can't really do much with it. You can probably call 911 and that's it. And so the purpose of this new program, which is called the Cellular Connectivity Program, is to provide grant funding to make sure towers are constructed and equipment put on towers to bring at least 4G coverage. And so I wanted to share with you that about 600 miles of roads within Patrick County lack access to cellular connectivity, and that, as I said earlier, about 8,000 plus locations lack access to cell connectivity, whether it's 4G access or not. So some folks may be able to make a call, but they can't text, or they can't use their Wi-Fi or internet on their phone. And so I did want to share that this is a new initiative by the Commonwealth. It does depend on some federal funding that we've been awarded. We're going to submit a proposal later this summer on cellular connectivity, along with some other priorities as well. And so again, I did want to share that while we're talking about broadband, we also are looking at cellular connectivity coverage because communications is needed all across the Commonwealth. And so with that, I will conclude my official presentation.
So we should look for that like later after the summer, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is anyone allowed to ask me questions yet, or do we wait?
Last time,
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
you did a presentation at VACO.
Oh, yes, yes. You were not one of the members that yelled at me, right?
I asked you.
Okay, you might
I didn't yell
have.
at you.
I got yelled at by Augusta County. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Any questions from the board?
No?
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Up next, we have Mr. Rob Martin from Appalachian Electric Power on the broadband update.
Hey, good evening. My name's actually Rob Mann with Appalachian Power and External Affairs. Pleasure to be here, Chairman Wood and board members. So I do have some slide decks here. It is a high level kind of going over this is some current work. This was in April in neighboring Henry County of crews actually hanging some fiber there. And Amy, could you hit the slide for me? So just the overall VA3. The VA3 project, it's actually 3 counties in there. Henry, Franklin, and Patrick County. And if you hit the next slide for us. So high-level summary, I thought it was important to kind of show how many miles are remaining total fiber build-out in all 3 of the counties. So we're still at 217 miles. Fiber completed, we're at 118.59 currently. Highlighted on that first block for the telecom fiber construction is the projects related to Patrick County. Stella is near completion. Stuart, Floyd, Patrick is just kicking off this week, so you'll see some activity in the area. Stuart, Willis Gap, Patrick have construction prints with the contractor, and we are having, as permits was talked about in the previous conversation, there are some challenges getting the permit applications approved. So that one in particular has been resubmitted. Dobbins and Patrick, construction prints in progress, and we'll need to apply for those permits. On our distribution make-ready work, if you pay attention to the Stuart Floyd, the permit has been received on that one for make-ready work. And then our POP sites, the point of presence sites, that's going to be at our Woolwine AP existing owned property, and foundation has been poured, and we're expecting delivery of that POP shelter the end of this month. And if we go to the next slide. Just kind of showing the total of the number of poles for the make-ready work that needs to be changed, touched, reconfigured. So the column that says complex, that's actual pole replacement. So in Patrick County, we're looking at a total of 386 poles that need to be replaced. As far as reconfiguration, they're touching 338 poles for that. So it's quite a bit of work, once the review process goes in and the engineering design to make sure that the infrastructure is able to handle the new fiber. There's a lot of work that goes into that. As I mentioned before, below there, talking about the POP site progress. So on our next one, this slide reiterates the total mileage Currently Stella, and actually we are miles completed a little bit more than the 26.99 currently, closer towards completion on Stella. The rest of the projects, we've got work to do in Patrick County, so no other miles completed. But it does show the total miles. As far as the total miles in Patrick County that needs to be built out, it's 143.2. And out of that, currently 30 miles have been completed, so there's still 113 miles that needs to be constructed for fiber. Project overview, the schedule. So there are some dates, and this just gives you the construction. Starting this week, as I mentioned, was Stuart Floyd. Stuart Wills Gap slated to start construction as far as the fiber construction in the spring. Dobbins and Elamsville, Pole Ridge, they're all this summer. And if we go to the next slide. So kind of breaking out the specific projects in Patrick that we're working on. These are some of the mileage totals, and then I also talk about some of our risk concerns that we're working towards. We've talked about VDOT permit applications. We had one instance where VDOT required some different survey data that wasn't readily available. Our outside engineering company, they worked with VDOT to get access to some of their mapping to get that permit application approved. Also, there's some concerns with VDOT of guy wires in what they call the clearance zone, currently working through some stub poles instead of using guy wires. So working with VDOT, but there's still some potential risk there working with VDOT. The other thing that you're going to notice on this slide too is, well, talking about the risks again, I'm sorry, the Blue Ridge Parkway permit. It is a laborious process working with the Parkway folks as far as the permit application. It just takes a while. So we do have a Parkway permit that's been submitted, but still in a review type status for that. Also, one thing integral, and we're working with River Street on a weekly basis with their engineering team or project managers of getting the splicing designs. So for the fiber that's built, River Street will have to connect to that also. So Appalachian standards are to review the splicing connection documents and then reissue them for our construction folks so the splicing can be scheduled. So we are working closely with River Street on getting all that documentation together and reviewed. It's a lot of work to come, but we've got a lot of folks working on this project currently, and you know, it's got a lot of attention within APCO's leadership. So any questions y'all may have?
So who's responsible for replacing these poles that you said there's, were a lot?
Yeah, there are 300 and some poles, APCO crews. Oh, so
at whose cost?
Those costs, so I will make sure I got the right answer. I believe those poles are on APCO to replace.
The reason I ask is my parents have lived on the side of 58 for 40-some years. A new internet provider came by and said, we can offer you faster speeds, cheaper rate. I said, sounds good. But the problem was they said, we're going to have to replace 2 of AEP's poles going to your house. And we're going to have to share that cost with you. So the cost of installation was near $15,000. That's why I was wondering who is ultimately responsible for the replacing, it seems like AEP's older infrastructure at times.
Well, and it is, and this is creating a more robust system too. You know, this engineering review, folks are going to get better, reliable service out of this too. But no, there is a good portion of the cost that is APCO responsibility for doing such.
So these permits, is there any way to pick up the pace to get them improved? Is there some plan to?
We are doing everything we can, yes. Working with the local VDOT residencies and streamlining their process to make sure we understand exactly what VDOT is after. Each one's unique, whether it's like a limited access highway type thing, if it requires safety, rolling roadblocks, anything like that. So there's different requirements, and we are working very diligently to try to come up with a process that works, because VDOT is different all over the state of Virginia, and we've got our engineering companies and our local distribution right-of-way folks, trying to streamline the process and working with VDOT as closely as we can.
Some of these grants were under, they've got a time limit, and we're kind of just making
We
sure
completely understand. It's getting a lot of attention with APCO leadership, yes. So
I had the pleasure of speaking with the crews that were bringing the line in, I guess, there at the Woolwine Station, and then some of the River Street folks. Amazing people there on top of it. They are moving some fiber, and it's great things happening.
Yeah.
You guys are doing wonderful stuff. River Street too, wonderful things.
Mr. Terry, I will add really quickly to your question about VDOT. There was a broadband study that was done last session. Was that last session? Because I feel like we're still in session. I think it was done in December and presented in January. There is a process. So VDOT has an online permitting system, whether it's AEP using a River Street or any other providers that need VDOT right away. They are looking to identify which permits are tied to a VODI project, because that's something that VDOT is not aware of, because of course they get right away permit applications for all kind of projects. And so one of the recommendations under the JLARC study was to make sure that VDOT staff is aware, and we actually are in the process of helping supplement some of the VDOT staff as well, because of the volume of that's on the local district offices. And so just so you know, not only is AAP's leadership aware of it and the ISPs, also the Commonwealth of Virginia is very aware of it, and so we're trying to figure out a better way to streamline the permitting process even at the state level.
Is there any way the state level could kind of give us a little bit of extra time just to?
So what I will tell you, so if in my slides earlier, your contracts are through February of 2026 for the VODI grant. And so that funding that you all did receive is through December 26. It is federal funding, and unfortunately, it is really ultimately up to the federal government whether they're going to decide to extend it or not. But I will say that we are not the only state in this boat that have that type of funding for different reasons, not just broadband. And so my understanding from talking to our senators is that there have been other counties that have also expressed interest about the timing.
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Appreciate anything. Any other questions?
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now we move on now to Mr. Rob Taylor, River Street Networks.
That's really be Michael Brown, Chief Operating Officer with River Street. Rob Taylor has fallen ill, so he won't be able to attend today. But we do, I think, have a presentation. I do want to take an opportunity to say thank you to Dr. Holmes for all the support that you've given to Patrick County and also to River Street and our AEP partners. It's been very good to work with everybody together to try and move this forward. There's a lot of moving parts in order to do this, and as we get through the presentation, I think you'll see kind of the scope of what we're dealing with. It's pretty intensive, for sure, and so there's definitely been some challenges. A couple of things as we're trying to get staged up, I will kind of walk through. The partnership with AEP has been really, really good. The challenge comes along with that a little bit is because of their fiber network and utilizing their fiber network, it really required a lot of engineering changes because, for an example, in some cases where we may normally have 144 fiber or larger fiber 288, a lot of times we didn't have availability of that fiber within AEP's network. So as a result of that, we've had to kind of redesign the network a little bit and put in a lot more electronic stations throughout the network, more than we normally do. In Patrick County, normally we would have 4 to 5 remote stations. In this particular case, I think we're up to 12 that we're needing to be able to provide coverage throughout the county due to that. That's just because of the different fiber sizes we're having to work with. So there's quite a bit of engineering work that went into this to design it specifically for the use of the AP network. Oh, did he not? Okay. It's going to make it a little bit challenging for me, but I'll do my best. So I do want to talk about the Patrick County project is part of a larger project that River Street has engaged in that goes across 15 counties in Southern Virginia. So we're connecting Franklin County, Henry County, Charlotte County, Bedford County, Lunenburg County, Brunswick County, Nottoway County, Dinwiddie County, Amelia County. It's a very, very large network that we're building. And why does that really matter? What that really means is we allow the capability of being able to connect everything, businesses and residents, without always having to go out to the internet. If you can keep the traffic within your network, it reduces latency, gives a lot better connection times. We can have a lot more resiliency and everything else within the network to be able to do that. So just real quick, Dr. Holmes talked about the different funding mechanisms and everything else. So River Street currently is under contract to serve about 8,800 locations within Patrick County. We've also submitted for BEAD applications as well. We're waiting to hear back to that, which will expand that footprint as well. I had these nice little charts here that had these nice little candy cane colors, so I won't be able to talk about those. But in conjunction with AEP, there are many routes that go throughout Franklin, Patrick, and Henry County that kind of form a ring that allows us to be able to get transport to each one of these electronic substations that I was talking about, these serving centers. Then from those serving centers goes out, that's where we do the distribution fiber that goes to all the locations within the county to be able to do that. So it's really critical that we're able to connect all those locations, be able to get those to 2 different locations, what we call services edge. So you have the network, then you have 2 different locations where the services come into the network and are distributed. And that can be internet services, it could be wide area network services, it could be voice services. There's multitudes of services, even precision agriculture services that can also be offered across the network by having these services edge locations. For Patrick County, there's 2 locations that we will have a services edge. One of them is actually in Danbury, North Carolina. The other was in Gretna, Virginia, where we have an ILEC, or an independent local exchange carrier, that's been there for quite some time. We've broken the project up into multiple phases. I'm going to talk about a few things about the phases. Unfortunately, I can't show those to you, but I will be able to talk to them a little bit. One of the challenges that we've had in trying to get over to Patrick County is being able to get broadband services over here to be able to get to the internet and get to the services. That's been one of the challenges for us. And as we've been working with our AEP partners, trying to get from Gretna all the way over to the farther ends like Woolwine and some of these locations is a little bit challenging because it's quite a distance to go. So working with AEP, we've also looked at trying to come up from Stokes County in North Carolina, and that is a faster pathway to success for us. So that's what we've chosen to do. There's 2 different routes to come out. One of them is coming to Shingle Shop, is what we're calling the remote in that particular area, and also Nettle Ridge. So those will be the first 2 that we're trying to get in place. Our fiber, one of the routes is already to the county, or to the state line, coming from North Carolina. The other one is under construction at this time. We also already have the engineering and the permitting underway to be able to extend those from the state line up into these 2 remote locations. That really brings us a really good advantage. So Shingle Shop is 1,475 locations approximately. Nettle Ridge is about 316 locations, and it's consistent of about 210 miles of fiber between those 2 locations. So it's a really good pickup for us that is going to allow us to be able to kind of disconnect a little bit from AEP's schedule and be able to allow us to do what we need to do. Then we tie into the AEP network as they start to build that out, and that allows us to reach out some other areas. So that's phase 1. We call it coming from Lawsonville and Oak Ridge remotes that we have in North Carolina, coming up into Virginia and going to these 2 locations. I'll talk a little bit more about how those will connect together a little bit later, but those are in a later phase, and that's due to the cabling that's being put in place from the transport. When you hear me talk about transport, that's what connects these electronic stations together, and I have to have those connected to offer the first service to any location outside of that. Our phase 2 is to utilize AP's fiber to go from Stewart up to Woolwine and to Bassett using their transport fiber, and it goes over to Elamsville and building out all the distribution fiber associated with that. That one's slated for construction start in Q1 of 2026, and that's based off being able to get that transport up to those locations. Woolwine is 1,235 locations that will be turning up. Elamsville is 964. There's about 178 miles of fiber in this particular phase. And I kind of want to emphasize too, when I talk about phasing, it doesn't mean that it's a waterfall, what we call waterfall in project management. You finish one phase, you go to phase 2, you go to phase 3 after you finish. Actually, a lot of these will be in parallel. As much as we possibly can, we're staging them kind of as AEP completes their fiber. We're trying to make sure that we're coming right behind them and being able to build our piece of it and try and get that accelerated. Phase 3 continues down Pole Bridge Road, fiber for transport to Oliver Lane serving area. That's one of them that we're doing there, and also it kind of ties back into Elamsville as well. There's 52 more locations we pick up there, 902 from the Oliver Lane remote location. Once again, that construction starting place in Q2 of 26. Microfilm is starting in Q3 of 2026. And then to wrap it up, phase 4, once again, these are a lot of these are in parallel, is taking it from Stewart to Willis Gap and also to Patrick Springs, Dry Pond, and New Valley offices. That's more of that southern portion. That one is a little bit delayed only because that's one of the last pieces where AEP is going to be completing their fiber out. So whereas we are going to be able to make the connections to build that route out, it's going to take a little bit of time. Getting from the New Valley area up to Vesta, that is one that we are putting off a little while too because of the permitting once again associated with the Blue Ridge Parkway. That's one where we are trying to avoid it as much as possible, being able to even parallel or cross it. There will be some permits that will be required there because I can't stay off of the parkway completely to get up through there. So once again, that construction, we're planning on about Q3 of 2026, starting on that one. Dry Pond construction around the same time frame, trying to build out that bottom piece of the county as well. So that's our build plan. It's very tight time schedules, but they're doable time schedules. We've been very successful in other counties being able to build out according to this type of velocity, especially Pennsylvania County. We've done very well in that. Bedford County, we've done very well there as well, at being able to get everything built out pretty rapidly. So with that, I'll open up to any questions.
I'm curious with your organization and AEP, since the permitting process tends to slow things down, how do you handle within your organization making sure that the permits are in on time, comprehensive, and how do you follow up on that? Say there's a delay with the permitting authority. How do you follow up and see if you can kind of push that process?
What we're trying to do is really trying to get the engineering portion of it done a little bit earlier where we can get those permits submitted earlier in the process because we have experienced the same thing they have as far as different delays in different areas. And to be honest with you, there's some areas where permitting goes smooth with VDOT and there's some where it does not go as smooth. We've worked some in these counties before. It's challenging, but we've gotten pretty good at working with them. We will continue to work with them in any way to see how we can streamline that. But the primary way we mitigate that is try and pull that permitting back early in the process and try and get the permits submitted. So we actually, we do that before we get the full construction prints done. That's one way we've accelerated it. So what we do know is I know exactly where my handholds are going to be, where my pedestals are going to be. I know the placement of the fiber and everything else, but I may not know the exact size of that fiber yet because it may change based off of getting further into the design process. But with the VDOT, that part is okay for them, so they're allowing us to be able to submit those permits a little bit earlier, which helps mitigate that problem.
And how is the Parkway to work with it? Pretty much the same thing? Or?
Parkway's a different ballgame all the way around, because that's federal government at that time, and so getting the permit through them, you have to submit it much earlier, and it does take quite some time to be able to get that. I will just say the last one that we worked with was in Wilkes County in North Carolina. Going up into Ashe County, we did have to cross the Parkway, and I think it took a year and a half to get that permit. It can take quite some time to get it. That's why we're trying to go ahead and identify those areas where we do have to do it, get those permits submitted early in the process. But permits are always a mitigating factor that we have to deal with. Railroad permits are the same way. Railroad permits, they're very good about turning the permit around, but then you have to schedule the actual crossing. You have to schedule the flaggers and that kind of stuff for it, which takes some time. Any other questions?
So we had a group in here last month, I think, and they were talking about coming through Patrick County, headed over towards Carroll County area, and they were all underground because they said, and I probably should ask the other groups, but you just happen to be standing there, talking about they were underground because, well, we have a lot of trees.
Yes.
And I know AEP might get behind a little bit on their tree trimming, and they were afraid that, that it was a better plan to go underground. How do you decide which one to do and where?
So our policy is to go buried. The only time that we're going aerial is where we're utilizing AEP's infrastructure that they have in place and everything. And at that point, most of the time, we're actually going up the pole, leaving the coil for them. They're doing the splicing at that location, then we're going buried from that location out. That's our preferred method of construction due to exactly the issues that you just talked about with different weather events and everything else that have come through. Gretna, Virginia suffered the same thing you guys did with 3 ice storms that came through earlier this year. We had a lot of aerial plant there that was still in place, and it caused a lot of outages for us. By the same token, we also had Belhaven, North Carolina, that had a tropical storm come through last year, and we didn't have a single outage as a result of it. So the buried cable definitely is the preferred method of doing that. That said, we all do know what Patrick County is like as far as rock. We have done a lot of rock boring and a lot of rock work and everything else in other counties. That's still, once again, our primary method is always going to be to bury, except for the areas where we are sharing the infrastructure with AEP.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
You all have got a dashboard as well, right? It's riverstreet.com, and then it kind of shows the progress.
Riverstreet.net.
And it kind of shows when projections, when...
It does. It uses an application called CrowdFiber, and you can go in and you can actually hover over your location. You can put in your address, and it will come back and it'll give you the approximate time frame that you should be expecting service.
So I've had people ask that, especially when it comes to options.
Yes.
And, their communication needs.
Absolutely.
And again, those crews you've got on Route 8, they're really running some fiber, and just tell them good job for me, and our appreciation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Up next on a new business, we have Mr. Joe Prater from Charter Communications.
If you don't mind, I always enjoy sitting in a chair.
That's fine. Just move the microphone over to you then.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As always, it's a pleasure. I always look forward to the drive here to Patrick County. I've come about once a quarter, so I've seen every season. Fall is my favorite, but spring is making a push for a close second. So thanks for having me. I also wanted to introduce my colleague, Miss Mia Bailey, who's with me tonight. As our build comes to a close, I'll be kind of transitioning it out. I'm not going anywhere, but going forward, you can work with Miss Bailey. So with that, I'll kind of jump in on where we're at with our build. This is just a map, we've gone over this before, that kind of shows where our activity is. We're really down in the southwest corner, as you see there. The blue areas are the CBGs that we were awarded under the FCC's RDOF program. The yellow dots are the locations that we were awarded through the VATI program that was discussed earlier. There's about 690 locations with VATI. We estimated about 873 with RDOF. So between the two commitments, it's about a little over 1,500 locations. And I'll kind of give an update on the next slide on both of those projects. So again, here's kind of a zoomed in look of that part of the county. Y'all have seen this before on previous updates. Again, the blue is the RDOF commitment. In this map, the red dots are the VATI locations. As Dr. Holmes reported earlier, we're at 98% completion of our VATI build. I've circled kind of up there on the north. There's about 13, 14 homes along Gunny Sack Trail in Hillsville that unfortunately are subject to a Blue Ridge crossing up there as well. We tried to go every route possible to see if we could do it without having to cross over the parkway, but unfortunately, we actually met with some of the property owners along that road to see if there was a creative easement that we could take, and unfortunately, there's no going around it, and so we will have to wait until we get that permit back for that area. As far as RDOF, we're at about 75%. Again, similar to VATI, we've built everything that we could with the exception of an area that does require a Blue Ridge permit. But we anticipate that if we can get that back, it'll just be a matter of months. We first submitted that permit, as noted on there, back in March of 2023. They had us make some corrections and we resubmitted it in January of 2024, and we still unfortunately have not gotten that one back yet. So we're making good progress. Everything's built that could be built. At this point, we're waiting on the Blue Ridge permits to complete the rest of those two commitments. And that's it. As always, I just want to say thank you to the board, to the administration, to the West Piedmont Planning District Commission for the partnership on this build. We've really enjoyed it. Our folks have enjoyed being out building in the county. I know some folks have interacted with our crews, and we're really proud to be here. And I did want to mention, because I know Mr. Overby and I saw Ms. Falk here earlier as well, East Fork Road is still on our radar. We're trying to find the most economic way to get there. We've got our pre-existing network to the south, and then the VATI network we built is to the north, and so we're just trying to find the most economic route to try to get to pick up that area. So I just want to let y'all know it's still on our radar. Thank you. Yes, sir. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the board?
What you've completed so far, are those homes receiving services now? Have they been turned on? Yes, sir. They are correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Mr. Wood, I probably should have noticed this before, but would it be possible to move that item 13 up to now while our broadband people are kind of here, especially Ms. Eberly with West Piedmont, just in case y'all have any questions about that agenda item? It's pretty straightforward, but it kind of ties in with this theme.
Is that okay with everybody on the board? That good? Okay, so we will skip down to item 13, the Environmental Review, West Piedmont Planning District Committee. Do we have anything about
No,
that?
sorry, my apologies. Sorry, nothing to add there. As Ms. Holmes alluded to earlier, as part of the ARC grant program, there does have to be an environmental review. West Piedmont Planning District, as part of their project management, did that for us, and so this is just signing off on it. It will be posted in the administration building starting tomorrow.
Okay. Should have been in your packets that came out. I haven't had a chance to look at that. I will need a motion for that.
This one may have came by, did it come by email after the packet was, so the possible board action, we have approved, deny, or table. So the approved motion would be, I move to approve the signature of our chief elected official, which would be Mr. Wood, on the environmental review record.
I move to approve the signature of our chief elected official on the environmental review record.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Kendrick?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Overby?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go back to new business item number 10. Mr. Ben Templeton from VDAX about aerial spray treatments.
Now for something completely different. I do have handouts for the board and others. Do I need to... So I should provide some context for why I'm here first. Spongy moth is a devastating invasive forest pest whose caterpillar feeds on more than 300 species of trees and shrubs. In outbreaks, the moth can make summer look like winter. They can make June look like January. Currently, Frederick County and surrounding areas are in the middle of an outbreak. If you know anyone up there, you could ask them their opinion of this particular pest. They would tell you you don't want that. You don't want that pest here. Slow the Spread, SDS, is the most successful integrated pest management program in the U.S. For 25 years and counting. We're tasked with slowing the spread, as it were, by at least 50%, and for years we have more than met that goal. What we do at a national level, this is a project led by the U.S. Forest Service, covering 50 million acres, stretching a barrier region 1,200 miles long and 100 miles wide from Minnesota to North Carolina. We target small, scattered spongy moth outbreak colonies ahead of the advancing infestation front, and treat those in an effort to slow the further spread of the pest. Now, I'm sure you're wondering at this point what this has to do with Patrick County at all. For a number of years, the Slow the Spread SDS action area has been partly in Patrick County. We have treated outbreaks in the county before. This is more or less just an advisory of our intended plan to treat in an area bordering Carroll County this summer. This is a mating disruption treatment that will occur in early June, covering a total of 1,649 acres, but about half of that will be in Patrick County. Now, I say mating disruption because what we treat with is not a poison. It's not even toxic to the moth we're treating for. It is a pheromone, and we apply with our yellow air tractor treatment planes. We apply about a cup of product per acre, so about a cup of it kind of looks like toothpaste, a cup of material per acre per football field. And what that will do is prevent the male moths from finding the females and hopefully cause that population to collapse. We've had years of application history data showing the effectiveness of this treatment, and we do notify the public. Everything we do is in accordance with the National Environmental Policy Act, which dictates that we conduct public scoping and outreach and notification. Landowners within the treatment block have already received in January roughly a letter and packet, including the map and the information sheet that you've received, and a informational pamphlet about spongy moth and a letter. 2 to 4 weeks before the intended treatment date, landowners will again receive a postcard with a QR code linking to our Virginia Department of Agriculture website with schedules and maps and more details about the project. And I think that's all I have. Unless you have questions for me.
Any question? Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Mr. Scotty Hilton from the transfer station to talk about transfer station adjustments.
Good evening. I have 4 items here up for discussion. Tipping fee adjustment, tire disposal fee adjustment, elimination of the line item general cleanup, and interest charged on unpaid balances. All right, tipping fee adjustments. Beginning July the 1st, 2025, our current solid waste contractor, Republic, will implement their annual 5% rate increase. The current cost is $64.19 per ton. The new rate is expected to be $67.39 per ton. Currently, the county charges $65 per ton. If we leave it the way it is now, we'll be at a loss of $2.39 per ton. To offset this deficit and provide a more sustainable margin, we propose increasing the tipping fee to $69.29 per ton. This change will result in a positive margin of $1.86 per ton. For the average customer disposing of 200 pounds of waste, the cost would approximately be $6.93. Right now, 200 pounds is $6.50. So it's not too big of an increase. Second, tire disposal fee adjustment. The county currently pays approximately $9,500 annually for tire recycling and operates at an annual deficit of roughly $500. We propose increasing the tire disposal fee from $130 per ton to $135 per ton. Historically, the county charged a flat rate of $2 per tire. This model was unsustainable, especially for large tires such as those from tractors. By moving to a per ton rate, we align costs more accurately. The average cost to dispose of a standard tire is now approximately roughly $1.80. Increasing the per ton rate allows the county to recover costs while minimum impact on residents disposing of standard tires. All right, here's the kind of the interesting point. Number 3, elimination of general cleanup trash line item. We propose eliminating this from what we charge. This category has created confusion and frustration among residents. For example, and I can give you many examples if you want. For example, if a resident cleans out a closet, they're currently required to weigh that material separately, even though it's clearly household trash. Many residents circumvent this by placing such items in the trash bags, large black trash bags, to avoid this extra step. This policy has led to inconsistent enforcement and places transfer attendants in the difficult position of making judgment calls. Removing this line item simplifies the process, reduces resident complaints, and treats all household generated trash uniformly. If it comes out of your house, such as clothes, books, things like that, it's just trash if you're throwing away. If you're cleaning out your basement and you have items such as this, it's no longer, oh, that's something needs to be weighed. It's just now trash. The anticipated increase in tonnage is considered an acceptable cost in exchange for improved customer service and operational clarity. All other separate line items such as furniture, mattresses, appliances, construction debris, waste from home improvements, stuff like that, etc., will still remain what we weigh in. And I've never had someone complain about having to pay for that. They might question it or don't know how much they pay or if they need to weigh it in or not. But I've had many, many complaints from people cleaning out their basement and having to pay for that kind of items. All right, 4th, interest charged on unpaid credit balances. We propose charging an annual interest rate of 10% on past due transfer station credit balances. This interest charge will apply to charges made on or after July 1st, 2025, which are unpaid after 30 days of the statement date. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
The interest, who is that? Is that from companies or businesses or what?
Yes, account holders.
Okay.
My question for you real quickly is tire disposal fee. I like that it would be even, but obviously you can probably weigh a skidder tire on your scales you currently have, no problem. How are we going to weigh these lighter tires that come off of, I don't know, cars, small trucks?
Same way. That's usually
Is that scale calibrated down that fine?
to 20 pounds. So usually it's more than one tire. That's one of those things I have a judgment call. If it's 4 tires, yes, the scales will pick it up. But if one person had 1 tire, it goes back to $2. And no one has complained about that. Because they understand it costs us to dispose of the tires.
So I just want to clarify for everybody that's listening, if you still take your trash to the landfill, I'm sorry, the solid waste transfer station, there's not going to be any charge to get rid of general household trash.
No.
So if you're not paying now, you're not going to pay in the future, at least not in the foreseeable future. So make sure everybody understands that. And getting rid of that general cleanup trash, personally, I appreciate that. I always hated having to go through, well, this is the flower pots, they have to be weighed, and this, I appreciate that. Any other questions, comments from the board? Good. Okay, well, with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the transfer station rate updates as follows. Tipping fee $69.25 per ton. Tire disposal fee of $135 per ton. The removal of the general cleanup trash line item and interest charges on unpaid credit balances effective July 1st, 2025.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? With none, Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. Kendrick.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Overby.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you. Last under new business, Mr. Scotty Castle, Emergency Management Coordinator, about capital improvement requests.
Good afternoon. Scotty Castle, Emergency Management Coordinator. The ESAC committee met on March the 31st to discuss capital improvement for both fire and rescue. This year's money for the fire department goes to Patrick Henry Volunteer Fire Department. They went through a lengthy process of speccing out a brush truck to replace their 2003 F-350 they have now. You have the quotes in front of you. They range from $196,000 up to, what's the last one? $248,000. Mr. Hudson's here with us tonight if you have any questions about the particular specs. But they're asking for their $154,000 to go towards that. They are willing to pay the rest of it themselves. If you want to do them together or separate.
Which one do y'all prefer as a board? Together or separate?
Probably separate.
Okay, let's do them separately. So any questions from the board about the Patrick Henry Volunteer Fire Department's brush truck? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve that capital expense.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? If not, Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. Kendrick.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Overby.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Okay, next part, please.
Thank y'all. I'm sure Patrick and you thanks y'all too. The capital improvement for rescue went to CCDF, Volunteer Rescue Squad. It's $76,000 in total. They have asked, and the committee accepted and voted on and approved. They're looking at replacing their Life Pack 15 with a Life Pack 35. Yeah, 35. The 15s are being phased out. 35 is the new version. That is a cost of $55,000 alone just for that one piece of equipment that goes on the truck. They also are asked, you'll see there's only 2 quotes in here for their porches. One's a front, one's a back, and this is just for materials only. The company is willing to do the labor for free. That's the reason they didn't get 3, figuring there was no need. Nobody else is going to do the labor for free. This is to bring their building up to ADA compliant. The current building only has 1 ramp, and it's very unsafe. So they were looking at redoing the porches with brand new ramps on them. That brings their building up to AD compliance. And they want to spend the rest of their money on updating Unit 110. This is a unit that is actually down now due to needing repairs. By upgrading it with the stuff you see in your package, and also they sent me a quote today on some of the lighting stuff. That will get another at least 5 years use out of that aging piece of equipment. It'll bring it up to standards with light wise and everything like that. So they're asking for their $76,000 to go towards all that.
What exactly does that life pack do?
Life pack, that's their, how to check the heart rhythms, blood pressures, everything. It does the shocking, the whole 9 yards.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Seeing none, can I ask for a motion to approve that?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Kendrick?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Overby?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well.
Thank y'all, and we are already working on next year's, so it won't be so late.
Okay. It is 7:56. Let's take somewhere between 5 and 10 minute break to get up. We've been going at it since 5 o'clock. We will reconvene 5 minutes after 8:05. Okay?